computer, and let's say I start pushing down and you push up as hard as you can, on the computer I'll get a curve, you know, kind of like this, and it'll say that when I first started pushing and you resisted, it peaked here and you put out a force of 30 kilograms. Okay? And I can do this over and over and over again, and it gives me an actual scientific reading of your actual muscle strength. No matter how hard I push or whatever, always, no matter what angle, I can get this kind of curve, right? And so then if I put a certain kind of drawing, like if I put a Nazi swastika on your body, and excuse me for hitting the microphone. If I put a Nazi swastika on your body and push out, man, this curve goes down here. Yeah, it weakens you. If I put a Sri Yantra on your body, it goes way up. I mean, it's amazing. And so I did all these experiments for years on geometric power diagrams, and I ended up inventing a device called a sensor. And some of you probably have one. I mean, some of these people, one person here probably has a sensor. Do you have a sensor? Yeah. Do you have it with you? No. Okay. To have one and have it with you. That's the story. Anyway, I should have worn mine today. But basically, I called it a flat pyramid, and it has a Sri Yantra on it and some other little things. But when you wear it, it strengthens your body measurably. You can measure its effects with acupuncture measuring equipment, with the ballistic kinesiometer, and other things. But yes, the answer to that is Sri Yantra is a profound thing. And not only that, in India, one of the things they say is that if you stare at the Sri Yantra and just meditate on it, you don't have to have any thought. Just meditate. Just focus on the center. There's a little dot in the center called the bindu, or the center of creation. And when you stare at the center of the Sri Yantra and just stare at it, they say that if you stare at the Sri Yantra long enough, you will know all the secrets of the universe. And when I first really got into the Sri Yantra, I had a friend who was, I lived in LA, and I'd done a lot of movies and done a lot of interviews and was real popular for pyramid power. And I had a friend who was in the movie business, and he said that, and I can't remember the person's name, but he said that there was a very famous movie producer in Hollywood that had this giant mansion in Bel Air, and he had a whole wall which was a Sri Yantra. He had someone put a Sri Yantra on the wall. He had one of those director chairs that you could you know, move up and down, and he'd go in there every day and position himself in the center of that Sri Yantra and meditate on it. And that was what he did. And he said that apparently he went to a large expense to build a Sri Yantra room to meditate on, because he felt like it had like a really good effect on him. And so it's interesting, and I believe that this is true of many, many symbols. I mean, sacred math and sacred geometry is one of my passions. I mean, my whole life has been spent, that's another side of my life, you know, is passion of geometric, you know, like dodecahedrons and icosahedrons and interlinking of these things, and building, you know, geometric power structures, two-dimensional, three-dimensional, the effects of buildings. When I wrote Pyramid Power, the whole thing, it's very interesting. I used to show you how profound things are. This room has length, width, and height, okay? And as I speak, my voice is bouncing off of each of the walls, right? And so at a subconscious subliminal level, this room is producing a three-note sound chord. In other words, when my voice reflects this way, it's reflecting it's amplifying certain frequencies of my voice, you know, F1, okay? And then when it's reflecting off the side, it's giving another frequency, F2, and up and down it's giving an F3. And basically what this means is that I've got a three-note chord, right? A three-note musical chord is being formed by this room from my voice. And also, if I were just sitting in this room in silence, just the ambient noise, just the air molecules are generating this three-note chord. Now, in the movie industry, interesting enough, they're aware of this but didn't know how to really define it. But in the movie industry, they record silence on the set. And what they do is they take the silence, and if they have to go in and mic, you know, in a studio, get you know, lines from actors in the studio, they take the silence and dub it in Otherwise, their conversation sounds artificial, because an audience can hear if an actor's talking in one room and suddenly they do it in a studio, and you'll hear it. You'll hear the difference. It'll sound tinny or corny or something. And so for years, they record silence on the set in order to dub silence into the dialogue. Pardon? Room tone. Okay, room tone. There you go, room tone. Thank you. See, I never knew that. Room tone. Thank you. Okay. Now, so the thing is, when we walk into a room, we might walk in and say, I don't like it in here. It doesn't feel good. And walk out. And the reason why is that room may be creating a 3-note discord. You know, like say if you hit 3 musical notes that are wrong for each other, and you know, and it makes you like send shivers up your spine. It's like, you know, like scratching your fingers on a blackboard. Certain sounds can upset us, even if we hear them subliminally. So you can walk into a silent room, and no room is ever really silent, but we're hearing the room tone. Basically, okay, here's what I did, is there's a device called a white noise generator, okay, and what it does is it generates sound like a waterfall. And what I did in one of my seminars is I had a pyramid, a cube, and I had different shaped boxes on the table, and a little loudspeaker that generated white noise. And what I do, and it's most profound, I'd love to demonstrate this again, but what happened is that if I put the pyramid over the box, you'd hear it go, take the pyramid off and it goes, you hear the room again, right? And then I put the cubicle box on, it goes, you know, and each one was different. You can actually hear the sounds of each shape. And then what I did is I took the ballistic kinesiometer and tested people's strength, and I would put the pyramid on and their strength would go up. I'd put the cube on, their strength would go down, and I put another room on it would go up, and so I could control their strength depending on the geometric ratios of the rooms themselves. And so what this means is that if we were going to build healing clinics in the future, we want those healing clinics, we want the rooms that the patient sleeps in to be a healing environment that has the right musical chord that's healing instead of like degrading to the nervous system. And architects today don't even think about it. Well, we got this much lumber and we got that many, 4x8 sheets, so I guess we could make a room this big by this, by this big, and they don't even think about what it's doing to the energy of the body. They don't even know what it does to the energy of the body. Only a few architects throughout history have known. Le Corbusier from France, Frank Lloyd Wright was very aware of the shape of rooms and what they did to people.
What about Vedic architecture? Is that all?
Yeah, Vedic architecture. Oh, this is a cool good thing. When I went to Egypt, I took a white noise generator and a sophisticated tape recorder, and I went in every room in every temple in Egypt that I could, and I recorded white noise in that room. I went back and ran it through what's called a fast Fourier transform analyzer. And basically, I was able to get the 3-note chords. I could actually tell you the dimensions of every room just from my recording of the room. In other words, I could give you the physical dimensions of every room accurately. But what I found out is that the dimensions of rooms in temples throughout Egypt and Greece were all based on sacred math. In other words, the rooms were either the width would be 1 and the length would be the square root of 2, and the height would be like some other ratio, or another, and basically if you make musical notes to these ratios, like musical notes are based on the length of a string, and if you so you play one note that has a string length here, and the other note has another string length, and the third note has another string length, and this creates a chord that's pleasing to the ear. Well, it turns out that if you build a room with those 3 dimensions, or these 3 ratios, it will be pleasing to the person who is in the room at a subconscious level and at a conscious, or subconscious, doesn't matter, but they'll feel good in that room. But if you take, let's say you take a musical note, a musical chord, 3-note chord, that is grating to your nerves. If you take a synthesizer and you play 3 notes that really sounds bad, and you build a box or a room that shape, no one will like that room. They'll hate it. And not only that, if they sleep in that room day after day, they'll get sick. And so Frank Lloyd Wright knew that. In fact, Le Corbusier and some of his he was a famous French architect, some of his later students have in their offices a wall with a long musical string instrument, and they'll have people play the notes and things and tell him what notes they like, and then he'll design the house to those ratios, because that's what pleases that person. And they're always, you know, to show you the difference, the phi ratio, the golden section, and during the Renaissance, the greatest painters in the Renaissance and the ones who are most famous, their paintings were based on the golden section, 1 to 1.618, you know, the golden ratio. And it's interesting that years ago a psychologist took, I can't remember how many, it may have been 100 squares. What he did is he made up 100 squares. You know, you'd start with an actual square, and then he'd make another rectangle, you know, this long, and another rectangle this long, and another rectangle this size, and so forth. And what he'd do is he would have people look at all the rectangles and tell him which one pleased them the most. And 90-something% of the people chose this rectangle right here, the golden ratio, as being the one that pleased them the most. And he also found out that ratios that pleased people a lot were rooms with 1 to the square root of 2, 1 to the square root of 3, and 4, which is just like the King's Chamber is the square root of 4 room. That's 2 squares together. The square root of 5, and so forth. These are the mathematical ratios, and phi, which is the golden section. These are the mathematical ratios which please people the most. These are the ones they chose. These are the ratios that should be used in architecture. So you don't necessarily have to build a pyramid or a geodesic dome or whatever. You just have to build rooms. You can build rectangular rooms just like this in architecture, but make sure they're based on mathematical ratios that are pleasing to the system. And basically, that's how you do it. Yes?
I suggest that we just take 1 or 2 questions and maybe...
Okay, yeah, we're almost done, so let's take a couple of quick questions. Okay.
Yeah, could you say something about how to do that mantra you demonstrated?
Oh, God, yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, first is Hari Om Namo. Okay, Hari Om. Okay. Hari. You start deep. See, you Hari. And when you go Re, you can feel the vibration change in your body. Hari Om. Now it's up here in the facial structure and in the sinuses. Om Namo Shivaya. That's pretty powerful, isn't it? Hari Om Shivaya. Om Namo Shivaya. It's Om Namo Shivaya. Hari Om Namo Shivaya. It's Hari, H-A, Hari, Om, Na, Mom, Shiva, Shivaya. Hari Om, Namom Shivaya. And the way I would do it is I would lie down on my back before I would do gymnastics, by the way, before my competition. That's the only way I was able to get through some of the competitions. But I would lie down on my back and relax, and then I would do it. Hari Om Namo Shivaya. And just do that a few times. And it really does. After a while, you can feel your feet vibrating and your solar plexus and every bone in your body vibrating.
What does it mean?
I can't remember. I'm sure somebody here does. Does anybody know what this means?
Loosely translated, praise be to pure consciousness.
Praise be to pure consciousness. Thank you. I appreciate that. I did know, and that is basically what it means, yeah. In fact, the only other mantra I do now is the which I would like to do as a closing today, And the only mantra that we do is the Gayatri mantra. And the Gayatri mantra, like the Sri Yantra, Sri means king of yantras, by the way. Sri Yantra means the king of geometric power diagrams. Well, it's interesting that when you put sand on a vibrating plate and you speak the word Om into the plate, under the right conditions it forms a Sri Yantra, and it's said that the Om is the sound of creation and the Sri Yantra is the physical diagram of creation. And when you pronounce Om with that little vibrating plate, what's his name from Sweden? Boy, my mind is going today. Anyway, pardon? Cymatics, yeah. Cymatics, right. Okay, it's called Cymatics, and there was a series of books. Thank you. Pardon? Hans Jenny. From Sweden, right? Or is it Norway? He was from like Norway or something like that. Anyway, Hans Jenny is the guy who he would make these vibrating plates and vibrate liquids and sands and things and different frequencies and create power, different diagrams. But when he spoke the word Om into it, it created the Sri Yantra. So Om is supposed to be the sound of creation, the sound of creation itself. And actually, when you meditate, you can hear the sound. You can hear the Om of the universe. It sounds a little bit like white noise, but it's actually Om. So anyway, when you feed Om into this thing, it creates the Sri Yantra. Now the other thing is that the Gayatri mantra is the king of mantras. And Sai Baba says that the Gayatri mantra, oh wow, Sai Baba says that the Gayatri mantra eliminates all karma. And that's really, by the way, this is the sensor. This is the thing that I developed back in 1973, and that's the sensor which we sold, which was a flat pyramid, and when you wear it on your body, it strengthens your body. It's got a little, it's actually, this one has the enneagram on the front of it, and the, oh yeah, this one has both the this has the enneagram on it, but the design itself is a flat pyramid, a log-log periodic antenna. And amazing. I asked for I knew somebody in here would probably have one. These were sold back in the 70s. It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
I have a couple of questions if you get around to it.
Okay. Well, Nira, I don't want to take your sensor. I'll take your questions and look at them. Here, you take your sensor back. Thank you. Okay. So the Gayatri mantra eliminates all karma, and the Gayatri mantra is basically a prayer to the universe it's a prayer of consciousness, just like Hari Om Namo Shivaya, but it's a little bit longer. So I'd like to do the Gayatri mantra to end the to end today. And is your do you have an email address or anything? No, I don't. No? Oh. Okay. Well, can you put your phone number on here, and I'll look at them and see if I can get back to you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Okay, the Gayatri mantra starts with Om, and so I'll just do it, and we'll end with that. Om Bhurabhuva Suvaha Tat Savitu Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dio Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurabhuva Suvaha Tat Savitu Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dio Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurabhuva Suvaha Tat Savitu Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dio Yona Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. All right. By the way, I just wanted to say that the first time I ever did that mantra continuously for an hour, I was driving between Arizona and California to do a TV show for NBC, and I did that continuously for an hour, and at the end of that, a great big giant comet lit up, not meteorite, lit up the sky violet. I mean, it was the most beautiful sight. It was like the universe was saying, thank you. So anyway, thank you all for coming. I really appreciate you coming here and sharing with me. Thank you.